parked in front of your house and told Dad he had to move it to the back. The boat sat in our backyard for the whole summer because Dad was too busy and didn't have time to use it. Then, in the autumn, one of Dad's co-workers told him he'd have to winterize the boat to protect it from the cold weather. was easier said than done. Not only did we have to take all the junk out of the boat, but it turned out there was a tree growing through the bottom. It took 3 hours to get the boat out from under the deck, and let me just say, Mom did not exactly go out of her way to help. After we got the boat into the driveway, Dad patched up the hole in the bottom and the crack in the hull with some duct tape. I just hope they're not going anywhere near water on this trip though. Because as far as I know, the boat didn't come with any life jackets. Saturday. Even with the added space we got from the boat, the minivan was still pretty full. I sneaked my pillow on board at the last second because I decided I was entitled to at least one luxury item. I figured Roderick would want to sit in the back of the van because whenever we go anywhere as a family, he likes to stretch out and take a nap. But every once in a while we'll forget Roderick is even back there. This Easter we made it halfway through church before Mom realised Roderick never made it out of the van. Back when we had a station wagon, me and Roderick used to sit in the back together in a seat that faced the rear window, but we got in big trouble when we played a practical joke on Mom and Dad that ended up getting us pulled over by the police. These people are kidnapping us. When we got in the van today, Roderick offered me the back seat. I accepted before he could change his mind, but I should have known his offer was too good to be true. Before we pulled out of the driveway, Mom said we were taking a special guest along for the ride. For a second I was worried we were picking up someone else, because with all the stuff in the van, they'd have to sit on the roof. But Mom opened her purse and pulled out a piece of paper with a drawing on it. The drawing was Flat Stanley, a character from a book I read in 2nd grade. Flat Stanley is a boy who gets squashed by a bulletin board that falls off his bedroom wall in the middle of the night. And when they pull the bulletin board off him, he's as flat as a tin of he's as thin as a piece of paper. I thought it was pretty cool that Flat Stanley could fold himself up and get mail to his grandma's, or have his brother fly him like a kite. And I'll tell you this, if Flat Stanley had a brother like Roderick, I guarantee he wouldn't survive a whole day. I really liked the book, but it kind of freaked me out too. One thing it did was give me a deadly fear of bulletin boards. Are you sure you don't want the bed? It's a lot more comfy. That's okay, you take it. In 2nd grade, everyone in my class had to color in the cutout of Flat Stanley and mail him to a friend or a relative who lived far away. Then that person was supposed to take the picture of Flat Stanley in front of something interesting and mail him back with the photo. My friend rarely sent Flat Stanley to a bunch of his relatives and got lots of cool pictures back. Rarely even sent them to his uncle who lives in Asia, and he took a picture of Flat Stanley in front of the Great Wall of China. Well, the person Mom sent my Flat Stanley to was her cousin Stacy, who lives out in Seattle, but she probably wasn't the best choice. Stacy is one of those people who hoard all sorts of stuff so I wasn't getting any cold air. What made me even more uncomfortable was the fact that Mom was in control of the trip. Mom always tries to make things about education, and I knew she was going to turn this experience into one long lesson. She's been doing that ever since I was little. I remember when I got scratched by Grandma's cat, and Mom tried to turn it into a teaching moment. C-A-T, cat. Sure enough, a half hour into our trip today, Mom started in with the educational stuff. She had borrowed a bunch of CDs from the library that teach Spanish and said we'd use the long stretches on the road to learn a new language as a family. Hola, learn to speak Spanish fluently. Mom's always saying that learning a foreign language is the best thing you can do for your brain. That might be true, but I think she should leave the actual teaching to the schools. Mom decided it would be a good idea to expose me to a foreign language early on. So when I was in first grade, she put the Spanish-speaking channels on TV while I ate breakfast. Mom would repeat whatever they said on the television, but when she said the words, they came back a little different. Tengo hambre. Tango hamburgers. I ended up learning all sorts of phrases that weren't right. For example, the way you're supposed to say "what's your name" in Spanish is "¿Cómo te llamas?" Well, I know that now because I learned it in my middle school Spanish class. But when I was little, Mom taught me that "what's your name" in Spanish is "te amo," which actually means "I love you." I just wish I had known that before I said it to a million different people. Sonorous house. I'm pretty sure Mom thought no one was going to get a point on that card because she was already reaching for the next one. But Roderick started acting like he just won the lottery. I win, I win. Mom thought Roderick was lying to get a point, but he told her it was true. He said that a few months ago he and his bandmates toilet papered Mrs. Tuttle's house next door. After she called the police to complain they were making too much noise rehearsing. Roderick thought the whole thing was pretty funny, but Mom didn't seem amused. Let me get this straight. You and said we had to pick someone else, so I grabbed the random book from the library and wrote my letter to an author I'd never heard of before. March 30th. Dear Nathaniel, my teacher made us write to an author, so I picked you. I have no idea. I have not read any of your books. No offense. Here are my questions for you. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? What's your favorite superhero movie? I would appreciate it if you'd answer me soon, because I'm getting graded on this. Sincerely, Greg Heffley. But I shouldn't have checked the year. Probably should have checked the year the book was written before I wrote my letter. May 20th. Dear Mr. Heffley, we regret to inform you that the author to whom you're written, Mr. Hawthorne, passed away more than a century ago. As such, you'd not be able to respond to your answers. With regrets, Katrina Walker. Most parents don't like the underwear bandit books either. Okay, I'm gonna stop there for now. If you like this video and you want a part 2 to it, make sure to leave a like and comment down any suggestions for any other books you would like to be read, or any other type of ASMR videos you would like me to do. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you